Hello, and welcome to Philip Brown's Computer Networking Lab. You're watching the instructional video called File Transfer Protocol. We are now on the computer known as FTP1. We're going to create a FTP site, but I've made some preparations ahead of time. I've already created the site that I'm going to use. Here we have it called Philip Brown-FTP. And when I go inside the folder, I have a number of files that we can use. There's a secret document, super secret document, super secret document, and an ultra secret document. I've also prepared the DNS ahead of time. I wanted to verify that it would recognize the ftp.philipbrown.us as an IP address of 10.0.0.11. We've already seen in previous videos how these are created. Now let's create a FTP site in the Internet Information Services Manager. Okay. Let's set up the Internet Information Manager, but this time, instead of creating a website, we will create a FTP site. We've already been through this wizard, so I'll try to go through it quickly. Okay, I'll activate the web server IIS. I'll deselect the web server from the checkbox because I only want to put the FTP so we can evaluate it by itself. Okay, we'll let it load in. I'm going to open up the tool and expand it. We can see that there's a default website, which is actually a website that we didn't want. But it won't be a problem. It doesn't have the main features that we had installed before. And here are the options for the FTP. We also have the application pool, which belongs to the website also, but we won't be using it. Let me create an FTP site. I will simply call it Philip Brown, and then I will bind it to the FTP folder that I created earlier. I could choose to bind the IP address to the interface, but I'll just use the default. It's normally not a good idea to fill in the name for the FTP site. It's better to let DNS handle it. To make things simple, I'll just change it to no SSL so we don't have to worry about any certificate. You should know that the anonymous authentication is when a person types in a username of anonymous when connecting to the FTP site. In BASIC, we'll use either the local computer database or Active Directory. Here we have some choices of what type of authentication we want to use. I'll choose all users to include everybody. For this example, I will allow everybody to read and write to my FTP site, although that could be a security risk in many circumstances. Here's my website. Let's take a look at the options. With the authentication, we can see that the anonymous status is on and enabled, and so is the basic. When I take a look at the username password that it has, it's using the built-in and hidden account. It's normally best to leave it like it is. It's also best to leave the default domain blank also. And we also have the ability to create rules that will put limits on users. This will allow us to see who's connected to our FTP site. And this allows us to control how our directory will look to those who connect to it. This allows us to control the range of port numbers from the firewall and the IP address of the firewall. And here we can restrict the IP addresses of people who use the firewall. And this allows us to control the logging for this FTP site. And these are messages that our FTP site will display under certain circumstances. And here we can control information about the type of files that are sent out and commands and other information. This allows us to work with certificates or secure socket layer connections. And here we have the ability to create server certificates like we did when we worked with the web server. The Internet Information Service Manager has the ability to separate the FTP users so that they cannot access the same information. And this binding link allows us to connect. Okay, now let's test our FTP connection. We'll go to ftp.philipbrown.us. And we'll type in anonymous. And I'll put in the email address. There, it logged us in. And I can see the files that I had in my FTP site. I'll log back out. And this time I'll log in as administrator, which is my local computer account. There, I'm able to log in as administrator also. The FTP site is working correctly. The file transfer protocol is a wonderful tool to transfer files and information from one computer to another. I hope this video has been informative, and I thank you for viewing.